If you are one of the 143 million Americans who drives to work every day, chances are you dread that Monday morning commute. Here's how one guy's simple idea is brightening up the Monday morning blues for a lot of people. Roll it. Every week before the city wakes up, Masood Adipur quietly heads out, accompanied by whatever friends he can round up. And this is the reaction that keeps him hitting the streets of D.C.
Coming from like 50 feet away, they're just slamming on the horn. And I was like, what? I was like, all right, yeah, I'm getting all like fired up or whatever. It was supposed to be just a one-off. We were just supposed to hold signs for one day, and I think after the first 5 minutes, we kind of realized, whoa, we're making like a bigger impact than we thought.
One day has turned into 6 months, and the Sidewalk Pep Squad is still at it. For Masood, this is just the beginning. Welcome, Masood, changing the world.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me.
So, this started with a photo you took at Coachella?
Well, yeah, I was at Coachella actually working the music festival. I had a week off, and I went down to San Diego, and I was just with my friend walking by the beach. And in a parking lot, in the back of a CV windshield, there was a sign that just said, "Honk if you love someone."
There it is.
Yep, so that was it, and I just took a photo of it, and I kind of thought about it on the flight back home, back to D.C., and during that time, I decided I've always wanted to make like a bucket list, and a lot of people associate a bucket list with like people who are terminally ill and people who are older, and I decided, you know what, I want to start a bucket list right now. You know, why can't I create this list of things that I want to do, like with all these challenges?
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Yeah, so why wait until I'm old and dying and racing to do this? Build my life around it.
Exactly, and so I decided to use that picture with a honk if you love someone, and so I just...
And you weren't being sarcastic, you meant...
No, yeah, I absolutely meant it, yeah. So I just decided, you know, call up some friends, and of course the idea is completely crazy, just to hold up the sign, honk if you love someone at a busy intersection.
Did you think you'd get any response?
I mean, I had no idea what to expect. You know, it's kind of like a social experiment in a way to kind of just challenge myself and just to take myself out of my comfort zone, so...
And when did you know it was working?
Within 5 minutes of just holding up the sign, you know. Of course, the first minute was just like super scary. I was just like, oh man, all these people are just judging me and I don't know how they're reacting.
Well, that's the part that actually got me about the story. I'm glad you said that, because I would have a little trouble getting out of my own way of being the idiot holding the sign that says honk if you love someone.
Yeah.
But
that's what you think, yeah.
That's what I would think. But when I see you, I don't think you're the idiot with the sign. I go, how is that guy so cool that he's just out here giving me his time today to make me think about who I love?
Yeah, thank you. And the one thing is, we decided to do it on Monday mornings just because, you know, no one wants to go to school or work on Mondays, and that's when people are probably the most vulnerable and feeling down, you know. And so I decided, you know, let's just do it on Monday morning. And after 5 minutes, we decided, you know, let's keep doing this. So we did it every Monday for the next 6 months, and we've gotten so many responses.
Were you shocked by how many people responded to it?
Yeah, I mean, it was instantaneous, though. Within 5 minutes, we had a couple dozen honks, and then within the hour, we probably had upwards of 300, 400 honks. We counted the honks, but then it's this type of thing where it's like, even if people aren't honking, they're waving or they're smiling, and that's just what it is, you know. It's taking people out of that, maybe that negative element, maybe that they're in. Maybe they're having a bad day.
You know what I think it is, too, is I think guys like you give us permission. Because it's easy to be in the negative and drive to work. That's the accepted norm. You can say, it's Monday, man. What do you want me to do? But when a guy like you standing out saying, well, do you love anybody? Then it gives me permission to say, dude, yeah, I do, actually. Huh, right on. Exactly. And it changes the mood.
And if they're not, even if they're not honking, then maybe on their commute later down the road or later in the day, if they're having a conversation with their boss, maybe they're thinking about it. You know, like, today is awesome, because that's one of our signs. We have, today's awesome, don't be so hard on yourself, which is a good one, because, I mean, we're all really tough on ourselves, you know, and it's just the type of thing where if you hold up that sign maybe for someone else, and everyone's going through something, you know, we're all battling like something, and it's hard to engage conversation with people.
So you're just putting it out into the universe.
Yeah.
It is not Masood's only idea either. You have some other very cool ideas that we're going to share. We'll take a break, we'll come back, and we'll share it with him. Be right back.
I have the mini chalkboard with me, and I'd like to actually have you to fill out the chalkboard.
Oh, I'd love to. Oh, perfect. We are back with Masood, who is trying to change the world. I wouldn't even say you're trying to change the world. You change the world with your small acts of kindness. When you affect one person, you have changed the world. So we know about this honk if you love someone sign. Tell me about this new idea, the chalkboard idea.
Well, the chalkboard stemmed from an idea named Candy Chang. She did a mural with a chalkboard. And so what I did, I took this 5 pieces of plywood. We had a coat of primer, 2 coats of chalkboard paint, and then we just wrote on the top, "What makes you smile?" And then we spray painted all these lines, and we put it up in Eastern Market in DC and kind of just left it out there with some chalk. And people just wrote in all these positive, like amazing things. And it was just to see all these different colors and different fonts.
And different ideas
exactly,
of what makes them smile. From puppies to love to Amy to mama.
Yeah. So on January 1st of this year, I started up this photo a day project where I have this mini chalkboard and it says, "What makes you smile?" And I'm forcing myself to go up to these strangers every day and just asking them, "What makes you smile?" You know, and it's kind of taken me out of my comfort zone, you know, because I have to approach these strangers, and it's kind of like the rejection therapy with Ja when he was on your show a couple of weeks ago.
Right. His deal was, I'm going to put myself in situations where I will probably get rejected so I can get over the thing about feeling rejected and just get on with doing the things I want to do.
Exactly, because once you get rejected so many times, then after a while it just becomes, all right, well then I can do anything. I can just approach anyone.
This video here is him just walking up to guys, and that's kind of what you're having to do. Even though you have a good purpose, you still have to approach a stranger with a chalkboard.
Exactly, yeah.
On the street.
And at the end of it, I'm going to have, I'll have 365 photos at the end of the year. I'm going to make a video. And the chalkboard's like centered inside the middle of the image for each picture. So then when you transition from one photo to the next, it looks like the chalkboard's standing still, and then the writing's different, and then the people and the environment is all changing. So it's a big project, but it's something that you can kind of understand and learn what other people makes them happy, you know?
Who's on your list for this project that you would love to get to?
On my bucket list, one of them is meeting the president, and it would be an honor to obviously meet him and then have him to kind of be like maybe a person that can kind of promote positivity by holding a chalkboard for my project.
So how do you do that? How do you, Masood, get to the President of the United States with your chalkboard?
Well, hopefully by being on the show, maybe somebody will know somebody. But also, last weekend I was at a mentor program. Some lady invited me out there, and I mean, it's crazy who you meet because someone knows someone else. And a lady I met over there said, "Hey, I know the makeup artist for Michelle Obama, and maybe I can put you in touch." And so it can kind of...
That will give you a better shot than this show. Exactly. I have a feeling. I'm just saying. Dude, you're great. I love the ideas you put.
Actually, I have the mini chalkboard with me, and I'd like to actually have you to fill out the chalkboard.
Oh, I'd love to. Oh, perfect. I love being a part of this project. Oh, this is easy. This is easy. All right. Oh, this is a no-brainer. There's nothing better in the world than love and family. Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, baby. So now we're
take a photo.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go to break. Up next, a heartwarming story that will renew your faith in the power of pen and paper. It's a nice sister story to Masood's. All right, let's take this photo. Where do you want me?
Hold it up just a little bit. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for letting me be a part of that.
And I posed a kind of crazy promise to the internet that if you asked me for a handwritten letter, I would write you one. No questions asked.
Closed captioning for the Jeff Probst Show provided by... When is the last time you received a handwritten letter in the mail? Somebody who put pen to paper. Well, our next guest is trying to create more old-fashioned snail mail. Roll it. Hannah Brencher believes the world needs more of these. And for the past 3 years, she has been handwriting love letters to complete strangers. Hannah grew up in Connecticut, getting words of encouragement, hope, and acceptance from her grandmother and her mom. So when a big move to the Big Apple left her feeling lonely and depressed, she decided to cheer herself up by writing words of love to people she didn't know.
I did the only thing I could think of at the time. I wrote those same kinds of letters that my mother had written me for strangers and tucked them all throughout the city. Dozens and dozens of them. I left them everywhere, in cafes and in libraries, at the UN, everywhere. And I posed a kind of crazy promise to the internet that if you asked me for a handwritten letter, I would write you one. No questions asked.
Overnight, she had 100 requests from around the world. The demand was so great, she recruited a team to help her fill the world with old-fashioned, ink-on-paper love letters. Today, she's at 10,000 and counting. Welcome, Hannah.
Wow, thank you for
Another
having me.
amazing young person. How old are you?
I'm 24.
24. So you, again, I meet people like you and Masood, and I think when I was in my 20s, what was I doing? I was not doing something this inspired.
Thank
so
you.
let's talk about this. When you first launched this idea, were you shocked at, like Masood, how quickly people took to it?
Yeah, it was a complete accident. It wasn't even supposed to happen. You know, I had written this blog post about how I was leaving love letters all over New York City, and I posed a promise that I would write anybody that asked me a handwritten letter. And, you know, I thought I'd get maybe like 20 or 30 responses, and overnight had over 100. And they were from all over the world, and they were like the most heartbreaking, sad stories you could ever imagine.
How do people, we're looking at the mail you received, how do people even find your blog that fast?
You know, I think it was a post that kind of went a little viral because it got passed on to other different people. I had been a blogger for the past year, but I never expected that number just kept accumulating. I wrote about 400 within 10 months.
And we mentioned in the piece that you moved to New York City,
Yes.
which can be a very lonely city.
Yeah.
And so this originally was therapy for you.
Yeah, you know, I became very depressed, and at the time, you know, I didn't know how to call it depression. I called it, you know, just sadness, or just can't get out of bed this morning. And I felt ashamed of myself. I didn't want to tell my friends and family that this had been my dream, and I felt like I was failing at my dream. And so I started to write my true feelings into these letters. And
What inspired the letter? Why handwritten letters?
You know, it's funny, my mom, she does not really do any kind of technology at all. And she doesn't have a cell phone, she doesn't do email really. And so all I can remember from growing up is that she would tuck letters for me all over the place. You know, I would go back up to college and I would find a letter from her in my bag. And that was inspired by her grandmother, who had done the same for her. So it's almost like a legacy of letter leaving. But I thought to myself, well, why can't I do that for complete strangers?
And what have you been able to ever see any reactions, or do you keep it completely anonymous?
I do completely anonymous, very stealth. I know that there are some people that will wait and see the person open the letter, or will wait around.
Because you could go into a coffee shop and just leave a letter on a table?
Yeah, on a table or behind a salt shaker. Got really creative with the places I would leave it.
And the point is that some unsuspecting person will see this note and realize that somebody left them a note? Just somebody?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're going through tough stuff. Everybody goes through tough stuff, and the joy of finding a letter and the serendipity within that.
And what is the reason? Like, I love this. If you see this, I'm yours.
Yeah.
So you don't think about who they're going to. You just put thoughts out there, knowing they will find who they should find.
Exactly, and they do. That's the crazy thing.
Do you get responses back?
So it's been amazing to see the stories that come back, because we've yet to actually have somebody come back and say, oh, you know, it was a great thing, I found a letter. It's always, you know, I just found out that my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and I found a letter sitting next to me on the train. Or, you know, I have been struggling with, you know, thoughts of hurting myself, and I looked down on the floor in a cafe and there was a letter. It's always crazy serendipitous moments.
And why is it important, do you think, that pen and paper? Right? You could type it out and
You could type it, you could email it. It's funny, you know, I'm not like, I don't go around trying to be like, save handwritten letters. It's not the message at all. But I think love letters to me especially symbolize something so much bigger. You know, they symbolize presence and connection and intention. And the crazy thing is that, like, the more digitally connected we get, I find that we're growing more disconnected. And I've been shocked to find out through this project just like how many people are so petrified of what's going to happen when the screen will turn off. And to me, you know, it's like, for my generation, how am I ever going to prove to people that I was here and I loved and I lived, and just trying to get people to connect with one another and leave a legacy beyond just a digital footprint.
You are an unusually inspiring young woman. An unusual and inspiring young woman in the best way. Hannah continues to spread her love letters to Los Angeles when we come back.
Sometimes you just wish that you could write a love letter to the whole entire world and just be like,
you are. We are back with Hannah Brencher, spreading love through handwritten letters. So you have your website is up and running. It's, what is it called?
moreloveletters.com.
Moreloveletters.com. And so I could go there today and request a letter from you.
Yes. So the website in itself was a complete accident. That was never supposed to happen. But once I reached the 400 mark, I was pretty certain that I was going to be done with writing letters, and everyone around me was like, you cannot kill this story. You are 22. You cannot stop doing this. Like, you have to put it out there in the world.
So you're 24 now. You've been doing this for 2 years?
Yes.
And you're still going. You've got to have, we mentioned, you have people helping you, right? There's now a group of people who want to be a part of this?
There's a team of 15, and then we have a little over 10,000 people all over the world that are involved. We're in all 50 states, 48 countries, and over 100 college campuses.
That's incredible.
So,
what do you do for a living? How do you make money?
Well, I quit my full-time job in July to pursue this, and
But how do you get paid?
Well, it was very lucky that TED Talk for the Global Talent Search became an official TED Talk in November. I've been going around the country doing speaking engagements ever since and writing the book. So,
speaking of TED Talk, that is a very elite group you were invited to speak with. Masood, how do you make money?
Well, I work at a concert venue in Washington, D.C. called the 930 Club, but I'm also doing speaking engagements also to like area schools, talking about how easy it is to promote kindness. And
so both you guys are finding a way to take your passion and actually make a living out of it.
Definitely.
Awesome. And in typical Hannah fashion, she wrote letters for everybody here. You guys all have a letter.
Actually, you have a love letter too. It's under your chair.
Oh, I do?
I could not come here without getting a love letter for you.
Oh, awesome. Love it. Wow, look at this. I haven't received a letter like this. You're right.
I'm surprised. I thought you got a ton of them.
No, they just write snarky things on social media.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read my letter during the break. We'll take a break. Then we're going to come back and have a couple of you guys share your letters. We'll take a break. Be right back. She says, while I'm sure there are days that bring you down, never step back on who you are and how very much this world needs you. That little sentence right there is so powerful.
Brought to you by Aleve. 2 pills. All day strong, all day.
We're back with Hannah. I'm going to read a little bit of my note here. You say some very nice things. You have amazing handwriting. And then you say, while I am sure there are days that bring you down, never step back on who you are and how very much this world needs you. And in this note, which I thank you for, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I get how this works because anybody, people watching right now are going, oh, there's plenty of times I feel down, like maybe right now, and that maybe the world doesn't need me. So does that surprise you how many people write to you and need love?
Yeah, you know, as the movement has grown, it's been crazy because I get a lot of letters in the mail, and a lot of times it's just really like sad and lonely stories and people just needing to send their thoughts or their feelings somewhere. And like sometimes you just wish that you could write a love letter to the whole entire world and just be like,
you are.
I am, I guess.
You are.
Yeah.
I want to have a couple people stand up. Guy in the orange, let me pop up out here. Pop up. I know you got a love letter. Tell me about yours. What'd it say?
Pretty much just explaining that people back home where I'm originally from, they do love me, they care about me, and they are supporting me. I feel like I'm carrying everybody on my back, but pretty much that's what the letter explained. And I just want to say thank you as well.
Now, she doesn't, but it's crazy, she doesn't know you.
Right, she doesn't.
She just wrote a letter and you got it, but it feels personal.
It does.
Isn't that amazing?
It does.
It really is.
Yeah.
Very cool. Who else? Who else were we going to talk to? Let's talk to one more person. Pop up there.
Well, my letter, it really touched me because it said something about to keep loving, and every time I love someone, they'll love me back. And because I always think, oh, I just want to do better. I want to do better.
So it's, and you're getting teary. And it's crazy. Another letter that in a way is anonymous and on the other side of the coin is extremely personal. It's a beautiful, you've touched another person, Hannah. You get used to this, don't you? Wow, yes?
I love Survivor.
And you love Survivor. That's what matters most. All right, I got to thank our guests, Hannah and Masood. You guys have really inspired us today. I hope people at home that watch this and you guys in the audience take something from this. I want to teach our kids. Let's write some letters. Let's just drop them off somewhere. I'm going to ask people to honk if they love. I may just do it in my car. I may just walk around honking. All right, and Yvette Nicole Brown was here. Another great host chat with Yvette. All right, thanks everybody.